I don't know what to say, really. Either we heal as a team, or we're gonna crumble, inch by inch, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You find out life's this game of inches. The margin for error is so small, I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
Hell yeah.
They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying.
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, manga chapter 543. And man, this is why I love Kingdom. This chapter, man. Let me tell you, if you didn't get goosebumps, if you weren't hyped after reading this chapter, I need you to do me a favor. Run to your nearest bathroom, look in the mirror, get about 1 inch away, and just breathe. If the mirror isn't all foggy, then guess what? You're dead. And that's the only acceptable reason for you not to be excited after this chapter. I mean, horror came into the new year with a bang, man. This is how you start the year. But we got a lot to talk about, guys. A lot of things happened this chapter that we need to sort our way through. So let's just jump into the review. So the chapter starts off picking up pretty much where we left off. We get Banyo realizing that it was the high Shin unit who was coming to their aid. And Shin tells Banyo he's lucky they hustled over there. Otherwise, he would have lost his head. But he makes the funniest face when he asks Banyo where's his thanks. And of course, Banyo, being a man of pride, doesn't have any time for that. He would have rather died than to give Shin thanks. And the way Ouhon was looking last chapter, I'm sure he felt the same way. But I was really kind of surprised by this. I really didn't expect Banyo to still be acting like this. He seems a little bit ungrateful.
Every fucking year something like this happens. I try to get something, I fucking write it down specifically what I want, and you give me this!
But Kyokai brings things back in focus because in front of them are enemies that they can't afford to just break through using their momentum. And Shin tells Ouhon that they came there as fast as they could with a few dozen cavalry, but the rest of the reinforcements are going to take a little while to get there. But until then, even though it pains him to say it, they need to fight together side by side. And of course, Ouhon says, then just don't say it at all and just casually trot your horse out in front of mine. And I have to say, the way this chapter began with these guys being forced to lock arms was just a great thing to see. I think these guys are actually going to start to develop greater respect for each other once they have to depend on each other to get the job done. And then we get an overhead view of the battlefield, and you can see that Akko notices that something on the battlefield has changed. And then you get to see the elite soldiers of Ouhon getting sliced and speared through by the tag team of Ouhon and Shin. And they're actually making it look easy. And in my mind, seeing them two both side by side, I would think in their heads, neither one of them wants to be outdone by the other. So that might be why they're on a whole nother level when they're working side by side. Because competition is one of the best motivators. And something that was even more amazing to me was that seeing Ouhon with his spear versus these elites wasn't a real big deal, but seeing Shin with Oki's glaive fighting against these elites was a bigger deal to me, because seeing him go up against these elites definitely shows that he must be getting used to swinging Oki's glaive. Because not long ago he was having trouble with lower tier fodder, and it seems like he's able to keep up with Ouhon on equal footing. So I'm not going to say he mastered it yet, but I think he's gotten a lot more comfortable than he was initially. Then we get another example of how well trained Ouhon's men are, because even though Ouhon and Shin are pretty much wrecking them, they're still aware of the fact that if they can isolate the two of them, and cut them off from the rest of their unit, that they'd have a better chance of taking them down. And even Dene realizes that this is a bad situation. But the problem is Gyeon's men didn't realize that there was also a third monster lurking on this battlefield. And Kyokai comes in single-handedly foiling their plans. And it just shows her battle strategy and prowess because she realizes that Shin and Ouhon are enough to force their way through at the front, and that she and her men are enough to provide support along the edges. And I just found it funny when you see in the next panel, the Zhao soldiers are just like sucking their teeth, man. They weren't expecting somebody as strong as Kyokai to be blocking their path.
Ooh, access denied!
Over at Gyeon, we see that he's informed that the Gyokuho unit has gotten a second wind, and it's due in part to the fact that they've been joined by the Haishin unit. And Gyeon remembers that this is a name that Riboku himself brought up. But what he finds more troublesome is that Ouhon and Shin are giving off the distasteful scent of the Quinn 6th grade generals. Realizing that these two could be dangerous, he has Genro take command of the army there so that he can go and personally take their heads. And he calls the 10 spears on him, which I'm interested to see what type of elite force this could possibly be, but I can't imagine that they'd be able to give Ouhon and Shin any sort of trouble. But to me, the whole purpose of this is just to show how serious Gyeon is about taking out Ouhon and Shin. He realizes he should nip this in the bud now before a small problem turns into a bigger one.
Crap. Uh-oh. Me. You have to be kidding me.
But then as Gyeon is about to set off for Shin and Ouhon, there seems to be a large commotion off in the distance, and he tells his men to hold. And you see everybody wondering what this noise could be. But Dene and Shin know what it is, and the only thing that surprises Shin is just how fast his men were able to get there. But the thing that Banyo wants to know is, when he was sent to help Moten on the left, he brought 800 of his men with him. And he asked Shin, so how many men did you bring with you this time? And before Shin can answer, we find ourselves flashing back to the moment where Ouhon sent for Shin. And we see that Ouhon is telling Shin that with the awakening of Moten, the left battlefield is at a standstill. And that if they could win the right battlefield, that would lead to an overall victory. And he says this moment came earlier than he expected, but now with these developments, the Haishin unit's true battleground has been set in stone. And he tells the Haishin unit to go. The moment they've been waiting for has finally come, and that their true battleground awaits. And back at Shin, he just chuckles and says, how many did I bring, you asked? The answer is the whole 8,000. Then you just get a beautiful panel showing the entire Haishin unit in all of its glory. And I just love how they laid out all the officers and important characters in the unit, but they didn't have to do our man Bihei like that, man. Just the teeth? Just the teeth? And it was amazing to see that with both Kyokai and Shin's units together, they're actually so large that they wouldn't even be considered a unit in the eyes of the enemy. The enemy would actually perceive them as another army, whose size and scale alone would exert pressure on its enemies just by making an appearance. And just when you thought the chapter couldn't get any more perfect, even 10 has a role to play, getting this massive force into formations. Even the Gyokuho unit are impressed by Shin's men, and this goes double for Gyeon's men, who state that these guys look well trained and should provide some measure of a challenge. And then we find out one final tidbit of information from Shin, that Ouhon told him that there will be no more help sent to the right wing. So Shin tells Ouhon it's all on their shoulders to win this thing. And with that out the way, Shin says it's time to get this party started, Haishin unit, followed by a massive wave of cheers, and you could tell these guys are ready to go. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. And this chapter, guys, was amazing. I can't praise this chapter enough. There were a couple different things that really got me excited in this chapter. One was that the Haishin unit finally showed up. Finally we get to see these guys in action. Hopefully we get to see some more development from some of these new guys, as well as some of the old guys, because it feels like forever since we got to deal with the Haishin unit. And I have a feeling the way they've been developing characters in Moten's unit and Ouhon's unit, that we're about to get that same treatment for the Haishin unit. But just seeing the overall growth of the Haishin unit, even though we've already known for a long time that this unit was 8,000 men, but seeing it on the battlefield the way it was shown, it just looks so massive. And it just shows you that we've come a long, long way. And hopefully the growth doesn't stop there, because another thing I want to see grow is the camaraderie between Ouhon and Shin. We find out that Ouhon isn't sending any more help over here, so these two are going to be stuck in the same battlefield, and they're going to be forced to work together through some difficult times. And hopefully by the end of this, when they come out on the other side, I don't expect them to be like Moten and Shin, but I do expect them to have some sort of understanding, and they can see where each other's coming from. Another thing I liked about this chapter was that Ouhon has picked up the scent of Ouhon and Shin. And he described them as having the same sort of smell as the 6 great generals, which was really high praise. And he was actually so bothered by this that he wanted to go and deal with it ASAP. But since the circumstances changed, he wasn't able to right then and there. But the one thing I've been hearing a lot about is like a Ouhon and Shin combo to take down Ouhon. And I hope that doesn't happen, man. Like, I really kind of want Shin to take down Ouhon by itself, but you never know. And I'm really kind of starting to find it a disgrace that a recently awakened Moten is able to fend off Kishui and Bate, who should be seasoned generals at this point, to a stalemate, and with less men. I can't imagine that's the last we're going to hear from that battlefield. And since I'm on the topic of the battlefields, let's talk about the center. I was talking about this with Devil Hex in one of the comment sections. We really could use an updated map letting us know like what the numbers are right now, because I kind of feel like with Shin moving to the right battlefield, Roboku should still have a sizable advantage in the center, which brings up the question, then why not attack? And to be honest with you guys, I really don't have an answer for that. Like, that's something that I really would like to know. But when I start to think about it, from Roboku's viewpoint, the whole point of this battle is to get by Ouhon so that he can liberate Gyo. But if he was to clash with Ouhon, I'm sure he would still take some sort of heavy losses. And with both his right wing and left wing still engaged, what type of army will he still have at his disposal to move forward with to save Gyo? That's just a thought, but I'm sure we'll find out something soon enough. But anyway, guys, that about does it for this week's review. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter in the comments section below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out!